Welcome to OptiU, a concept customized for helping you becoming your best self. You were built to evolve, to think clearer, move stronger, and live deeper. Each episode gives you the knowledge, the mindset, and the daily rituals to unlock your body's and brain's optimal chemistry and elevate your life. Because health optimization isn't just an idea, it's an identity.
Greetings and welcome back to the OptiU podcast. In today's episode, we're going to talk about a brain chemical that has been wildly misunderstood for decades, serotonin. If dopamine is the spark that makes you move, serotonin is what keeps you steady. Today we're going deep, unpacking what it is, how it makes us feel, exactly how it works in your brain, in your gut, and in your daily life. So you can understand what really builds calm, confidence, and emotional resilience. You're even going to learn how you can be proactive about it, how you can make serotonin your partner in crime in any situation, helping you perform better and bring you success. I'm your host, and this is the OptiU podcast, the science of becoming the optimal you. Most people have heard that serotonin is the happiness chemical. That sounds nice, but it's also wrong. Serotonin isn't the thing that makes you feel instant joy. It's much more powerful and much more strategic than that. Serotonin is the editor of your mood. It decides which experiences get highlighted, which get toned down, and how strongly they shape your emotional story over time. It's also the brake pedal that stops you from acting on every impulse, every craving, every fear. Let's make this real. Think about two versions of you. One version wakes up, feels low for no clear reason, overthinks everything, gets derailed by small setbacks, and struggles to shut the mind off at night. The other version still has stress, still has problems, but feels more grounded, less reactive, more patient. You still feel emotions, but they don't own you. The difference between those two versions is not being a positive person versus being a negative person. A huge part of that gap lives in how your serotonin system is functioning. Serotonin influences how stable your mood is, how strongly negative experiences hit you, how quickly you recover from stress, how impulsive or patient your decisions are, how much your body and brain feel safe versus under threat. And here's the twist. Around 90 to 95% of your serotonin is not in your brain at all. It's in your gut. The smaller fraction in your brain, mainly in clusters of neurons called the RAF nuclei, quietly controls mood, learning, sleep, appetite, and pain. So when we talk about optimizing serotonin, we're really talking about a whole body system that links light, sleep, food, stress, movement, and even your immune system directly to your emotional life. If you care about mental health, resilience, discipline, or just feeling more like yourself, serotonin is not optional, it's central. All right, let's start with the basics. What actually is serotonin and how is it made? Serotonin is a neuromodulator. That means it doesn't just turn neurons on or off like a simple light switch. It changes the gain of circuits. It adjusts how sensitive they are, how they respond, and how they adapt over time. Your body makes serotonin from an amino acid called tryptophan, which you get from protein in your diet. Things like eggs, dairy, poultry, soy, seeds. Inside certain cells, tryptophan is converted step by step into serotonin by certain enzymes. In your central nervous system, serotonin neurons live mostly in the RAF nuclei, deep in the brainstem. From there, they send long branching projections all over the brain to your prefrontal cortex, your limbic system, your basal ganglia, your spinal cord. They don't do quick, precise messaging like move your finger now. They do slow global modulation like turn the volume of anxiety down or increase patience and behavioral control. You can think of serotonin like the global filter that decides how strongly you learn from pain versus reward, whether you slam the gas pedal or tap the brakes, how stable your emotional baseline stays over time. Now, one reason serotonin is so complex is that it doesn't work through just one receptor. There are at least 14 different receptor subtypes in a brain. Some calm things down, some ramp things up, some affect pain, some affect anxiety, some affect plasticity. And then there's the gut. Most of your serotonin sits in the cells lining your intestines, controlling things like gut motility, blood clotting, and immune signaling It communicates with your brain indirectly through the vagus nerve, hormones, and immune signals. This is a big part of the gut-brain axis you've probably heard about. So already you can see, serotonin isn't a happiness button, it's a regulator of emotional learning and behavioral control wired through your brain, your gut, and your immune system. All right, peeps. Let's dive deeper into the mechanisms and drivers of serotonin and connect it to how you actually feel and behave, starting with serotonin as a mood editor. Modern computational models don't say serotonin equals happiness. They say something more interesting. Serotonin controls how you learn from experience, especially punishment, disappointment, and negative outcomes. Imagine your day as a stream of events. Someone cuts you off in traffic. You get a compliment from a colleague. You mess up a project. You have a good workout. Serotonin helps decide how strongly you update your internal story from each of those, how long negative events stick, how much weight positive experiences carry. Higher, well-regulated serotonin bias you away from impulsive short-term reactions and toward more patient long-term choices. It basically says, don't just chase the immediate hit. Think about the bigger pattern. That's why serotonin is often linked to patience, self-control, and resilience. There's even evidence from SSRI studies showing that rather than simply boosting mood, these drugs enhance how much positive affect reinforces future decisions. In other words, when you feel a bit better and do something meaningful, serotonin helps that positive loop stick. Over weeks, the brain gradually learns these actions are worth repeating. That's why the effects are delayed. You're not turning happiness on. You're slowly retraining how your affective system learns. So, what improves serotonin function? Let's take a look at some lifestyle levers and activities that can boost your serotonin levels. We have strong converging evidence that light, movement, sleep, diet, and meditation all support healthier serotonergic function with meaningful effect sizes. Let's look at the big ones: sunlight and bright light. Your eyes are not just cameras, they're time sync devices. Bright light in the morning sends signals from your retina to your brain's master clock, the suprachiasmatic nucleus, and from there to serotonin neurons in the raphe. In low light conditions, like winter in northern latitudes, serotonin function tends to drop. That's part of why seasonal affective disorder exists. Lifestyle reviews show that 15 to 30 minutes of morning light, ideally real sunlight or a 5,000 to 10,000 lux light box, is enough to measurably improve mood in many people. In some seasonal depression studies, morning light therapy showed small to moderate antidepressant effects, comparable in mild cases to first-line medication. Translate that, you don't have to sunbathe for hours. A short morning light ritual can materially shift your serotonin-linked mood regulation over time. Physical exercise. Exercise is one of the most robust, reproducible tools we have. Aerobic movement does a few powerful things at once. Increases availability of tryptophan in the blood. Stimulates enzymes involved in serotonin synthesis. Increases serotonin turnover in key brain regions. Boosts BDNF and plasticity, which interact with serotonergic circuits. Improves sleep and reduces inflammation, both of which protect serotonin function. Meta-analyses and reviews show that around 30 minutes of moderate aerobic exercise, like brisk walking or cycling, 3 to 5 times per week can produce small to moderate improvements in depressive symptoms, often similar to the effect sizes of antidepressant medication in mild to moderate depression. You don't need to run marathons. Think. Brisk walk most days equals meaningful brain chemistry shift, meditation, and mindfulness. Next lever, what you do with your mind. Chronic stress puts your HPA axis, your stress system, into overdrive. That affects raphe neurons, serotonin receptors, and inflammatory pathways that steal tryptophan away from serotonin and convert it into other less helpful metabolites. Mindfulness and meditation help reverse that. Imaging studies show that regular meditation reduces excessive threat responses, normalizes activity in self-referential networks, shifts serotonin receptor binding in regions related to mood and rumination. In real-world terms, 10 to 20 minutes of daily meditation sustained over about 8 weeks reliably produces small to moderate improvements in mood and anxiety. Again, effect sizes in the 0.3 to 0.5 range. And that might not sound huge on paper. But combine meditation with exercise and light, and those effects add. That's when people start saying, I feel like a different person. Diet and the gut-brain axis. Remember, most of your serotonin is in your gut. The gut doesn't just make serotonin and send it straight into the brain. The blood-brain barrier doesn't work like that, but gut serotonin effects. Gut motility, immune signaling, vagal nerve activity, systemic inflammation, all of that feeds back indirectly into brain function. What does the research say? Diets that are anti-inflammatory and fiber-rich, like Mediterranean-style patterns, are associated with a 20 to 30% lower risk of depression when you compare the highest adherence to the lowest. These diets emphasize vegetables, fruits, whole grains, legumes or nuts, olive oil, and fish. They also contain abundant tryptophan-rich foods, but what matters most is the pattern, not a single superfood, so you can absolutely eat your salmon, eggs, yogurt, and seeds. But the real magic comes from shifting the entire dietary pattern away from ultra-processed, high-sugar, high-inflammation foods and toward whole, diverse, fiber-dense meals. All right. Now that we have talked a bit about how to support serotonin, we need to talk a little bit about what harms our serotonin systems. This is just as important because when you know what pulls you in the wrong direction, you can be aware of it and therefore also avoid it more often than not. Chronic stress and HPA overdrive, sleep deprivation and circadian chaos. Ultra-processed, high-sugar diets, substance misuse, particularly certain stimulants and very high doses of drugs that hit serotonin hard, can downregulate terminals and receptors over time. Put simply, a lifestyle of chronic stress, poor sleep, junk food, and constant overstimulation is a serotonin sabotage protocol. And the opposite, consistent light, sleep, movement, food, and stillness is your serotonin support protocol. Let's turn this into clear, usable routines. Some actionable protocols that you can start right away to support your serotonin levels. Know that these activities supports other beneficial brain chemicals as well. This is not medical advice, and it's not a replacement for therapy or medication when needed, but it is what the research supports as high-leverage, low-friction habits to support healthy serotonin function and mood. All right, moving on. Let's take a look at a daily serotonin support, the base protocol. Think of this as the minimum effective structure. Even doing 60 to 70% of this will likely shift how you feel over the next few weeks. Morning, within 1 to 2 hours of waking. 1. Light exposure. Get 15 to 30 minutes of outdoor light. If that's impossible, use a 5,000 to 10,000 lux light box for about 20 to 30 minutes. Stack it with a short walk if you can. Movement plus light is a powerful combo. 2. Simple, balanced first meal, include protein plus complex carbohydrates. For example, eggs with oats and berries or yogurt with fruit and nuts. This supports stable blood sugar and provides the raw material, tryptophan, in a context where it can reach the brain. Midday, afternoon. 3. Movement block. Aim for 30 minutes of moderate aerobic exercise at least 3 to 5 days per week. Brisk walking counts, cycling counts, light jogging counts. If 30 minutes feels like too much, break it into 2 x 15-minute blocks. This is not about burning calories. This is about changing your brain chemistry over time. Evening. 4. Wind down and mind training. Do 10 to 20 minutes of mindfulness, meditation, or slow breathing. Focus on awareness of breath, body sensations, or a simple guided meditation. The goal is to signal to your nervous system, we are safe enough to downregulate. 5. Protect your sleep window. Aim for 7 to 9 hours of sleep with a consistent wake time. Dim screens and lights in the last hour. Avoid heavy, late meals when possible. This is the architecture that supports healthy serotonin over weeks and months. Not a hack, a structure. All right. So here's a serotonin recovery stack. When you feel stuck in low mood. If you're in a period of low mood, stress, or emotional fatigue, not severe clinical depression, but That gray heavy zone, think in 14-day blocks. For the next 2 weeks, lock in a consistent wake time. Commit to 150 to 300 minutes per week of moderate aerobic exercise. That can be 5 sessions of 30 minutes or 3 slightly longer sessions. Shift your plate one step closer to Mediterranean style. More plants, more fiber, more healthy fats, less ultra-processed food. Do 10 minutes of meditation every day, whether you feel like it or not. Get morning light on at least 10 of those 14 days. Don't wait to feel motivated. These are the exact conditions that help your serotonin system stabilize so motivation can return. All right, thanks for listening so far. Hi, we've been through the nuts and bolts about serotonin. Stay with me as we clear up some myths, because the internet is full of serotonin nonsense. Myth 1, serotonin is the happiness chemical. Fact. Serotonin is more like a mood editor and behavioral brake. It shapes stability, patience, and how you learn from experience. It doesn't just dump happiness into your brain. Myth 2, depression is simply low serotonin. Fact. Large umbrella reviews show no consistent evidence that depressed people just have less serotonin overall. Depression is complex, involving multiple neurotransmitters, hormones, inflammation, and life experience. Serotonin is one important node, not the whole story. Myth 3, SSRIs instantly boost happiness. Fact, SSRIs block serotonin reuptake quickly, but mood effects are delayed. They seem to work by gradually changing how positive experiences are encoded and reinforced. That's why combining them with meaningful activities, movement, connection, purpose is so important. Myth 4. You can fix serotonin with one superfood or supplement. Fact. Single nutrients can help, but the evidence is far stronger for overall dietary patterns and multi-component lifestyle shifts. There is no magic banana or miracle pill that replaces sleep, light, movement, and real food. Myth 5. More serotonin is always better. Fact. Too much serotonergic activation can be dangerous. Think serotonin syndrome, and overstimulation of certain receptors can actually increase anxiety. The goal is balance and regulation, not maxing out serotonin at all costs. All right, so the most honest position is this. Serotonin matters, but it's one part of a complex adaptive system. And lifestyle is powerful, but it doesn't erase the need for professional help when things are serious. So let's summarize and lock in the essentials. Here are your key takeaways. Serotonin is not the happiness chemical. It's your brain's mood editor and behavioral brake, shaping how you learn from positive and negative experiences over time. It operates across your brain and gut, influencing mood, sleep, appetite, pain, gut function, and immune signaling. The strongest lifestyle levers we have are morning light, 15 to 30 minutes most days, aerobic movement, approximately 30 minutes 3 to 5 days a week, Mediterranean style eating, whole, fiber-rich, anti-inflammatory daily mindfulness, 10 to 20 minutes, regular sleep, consistent wake time, 7 to 9 hours. The effect sizes of each individual change are small to moderate, but when you stack them, they become extremely powerful. Depression and anxiety are not just low serotonin problems, and lifestyle is not a substitute for professional care when symptoms are severe. But for most people, these behaviors are foundational. They make any other treatment work better. Now here's where we're going next. In this episode, you got the map, the science, the mechanisms, the why. In the next episode, we're going to turn this into a step-by-step protocol you can actually live. We'll build a practical, realistic routine that fits into a busy life, integrating light exposure, simple nutrition shifts, movement patterns, stress tools, and social habits into one coherent system you can follow. If you want more stability instead of mood swings, more calm instead of constant edge, and a life that feels a little less like you're surviving and a little more like you're intentionally steering, you do not want to miss that episode.
Thanks for listening to the OptiU podcast, a concept optimized for becoming your best self. Remember, transformation isn't perfection, it's awareness. If this episode resonated with you, share it with someone who's ready to evolve. For more resources, visit optiuconcept.com and join the community that's redefining human potential, one episode at a time.